Thank you to everyone who took the time to travel to Annapolis this evening to join us. We've heard many stories about your loved ones and the photos over the years. Unfortunately, we continue to add new ones tonight. Seeing their faces, although it's the most difficult time of the night, is so important to remember those victims, the needless victims of these tragedies, and to fight, to continue our fight, to stop having more victims. That's all of our goal, to end these tragedies. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize our guests and partners whom we have with us today. Of course, our leader, Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller, as well as our MDOT Assistant Secretary Tony Bridges. We appreciate his partnership throughout the year, Maryland State Police Superintendent Colonel Butler, our victim impact speaker, Nigel Samaro, who would tell his own story about being involved in a crash and the impact it's had on him and how he continues to advocate for highway safety. I'd like to thank our entire MBA Highway Safety Office who make this event happen every year, and their hard work every day to end fatalities is something that I am incredibly grateful for. The Washington Regional Alcohol Program, which again is a great partner, as well as Mothers Against Drunk Driving. All of our law enforcement agencies in Maryland, including many that are represented here today. We know how passionate you are as well about reaching zero fatalities, and we are so grateful. It's now my honor to introduce our first speaker. He was named Assistant Secretary for Transportation Equity Engagement of MDOT last year, but that is just the latest achievement in a career spanning the public and private sector, which included serving in the Maryland General Assembly, where he represented the 41st Legislative District in Baltimore City and served on the Appropriations Committee, the Environment and Transportation Committee, and the Chesapeake Bay Commission. As Assistant Secretary, Tony Bridges has an unwavering commitment to support Highway Safety's mission of zero fatalities on Maryland's roads. Please welcome MDOT Assistant Secretary Bridges.
Good evening. Thank you, Chrissy. On behalf of Paul Wiedefeld, Secretary for the Maryland Department of Transportation, it is my honor, humbling honor, to be here at today's ceremony. This is a solemn reminder of how our actions impact one another and the continued work that we all must do together. While this is my first Maryland Remembrance event, I can already feel how important this is to the folks that are here today. And I want to thank you for allowing me to be able to participate in this ceremony with you. Tonight, we remember those lost in crashes involving an impaired, distracted, or speeding driver. We also remember those who went for a walk, a bike, a motorcycle ride, and never made it home. Last year, we experienced 621 fatalities on our road. That's the most we've had since 2017. That number was unacceptable. Really, any number above zero is unacceptable. But we can't get there overnight. And so by working with Colonel Butler, law enforcement partners across the state, together we've made improvements this year. With 15 days left in the year, we are 7% below last year, giving us hope that we will end this year with less than 600 fatalities. But we can never forget, these are not just numbers. These are someone's family members, and it's for this reason no life lost is acceptable. While we often use numbers and statistics as reference points, everyone in this room knows that each number represents a person. There was a father, a mother, a son, a daughter, a friend, or a loved one. In just a few minutes, you'll hear from Nigel Samaro. Nigel's story is much like yours, yet it is also unique and personal. His story will highlight the why behind everything that we do to make our roads safer and why he's become such a strong advocate for road safety improvement. We will not forget and we will not stop until we have achieved our mission of zero fatalities. No family has to endure all that you have, and this is truly how we leave no one behind. And so it is now my distinct honor to introduce a tremendous advocate for transportation who has made safety and saving lives for Marylanders one of her top priorities, and that's our Lieutenant Governor, Aruna Miller.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we gather with heavy hearts and a shared purpose for the Maryland Department of Transportation's Day of Remembrance. And I do want to give a big shout out to John Coleman from Talbot County Sheriff's Office, who gave his rendition of our Star Spangled Banner. That is a voice that can move souls. We are here to honor the lives tragically lost on our roadways and reaffirm our commitment to making Maryland's transportation system safer for everyone. Each name remembered tonight represents a beloved family member, a cherished friend, a valued co-worker whose lives ended far too soon. To the families and loved ones who have joined us, Governor Moore and I extend our deepest sympathies and a solemn promise that your loss will not be forgotten. We are committed to turning grief into action by working tirelessly to create safer roads and to prevent future tragedies. No words I can say can take away your pain, but may you take comfort in knowing that your loved ones are remembered and their loss drives us to work tirelessly for a future where no family has to endure such heartache. Please know that you have not only our heartfelt condolences, but also the unwavering support of the Moore-Miller administration and the people of Maryland. We stand with you today and always. I want to express my deepest gratitude to the many who keep Marylanders safe. Superintendent Roland Butler, MDOT Assistant Secretary Tony Bridges, who you just heard from, MVA Administrator Chrissy Nizer, and all the dedicated team of MVA and MDOT, whose work and compassion have made this important evening possible. And later tonight, you will hear from Nigel Samaru. His story will resonate with each of you as it did with us. Tonight is deeply personal to me. I spent 25 years as a transportation engineer trying to make our transportation system safer for every user, from drivers to pedestrians to cyclists to transit users. That was my number one goal, to make it safer for everyone. And that is Governor Moore's, mine, as well as the entire administration's greatest priority, to keep Marylanders safe. And so every time that I hear a loss on our roadway system, I can tell you all of us feel this personally. And I want to share a personal story with all of you about a valued member of my office, a young lady named Leah Woody. She's my special assistant. And this past summer, Leah traveled to Palm Beach, Florida, to celebrate her auntie's 80th birthday. Over 100 family members from across the country came together for this joyful occasion. But just days after this beautiful celebration, joy turned into unspeakable tragedy. An SUV carrying 10 members of Leah's family en route to the airport for their flight back to their home in Bridgeport, Connecticut, lost control, crashed and flipped into a canal. Tragically, 9 members lost their lives in that single crash, including 6 children. What began as a celebration of life became an unimaginable loss. I carry Leah's story in my heart and the story of the sole survivor of the crash, 26-year-old Jordan Hall, who jumped into the water trying as best he could to save family members, and he was unable to do so. My team and I traveled to Connecticut to attend the funeral. I stood with Leah, Jordan, and all the loved ones who gathered to mourn, offering what comfort we could. On that day in Connecticut, as well as tonight, I'm reminded of a poem by Shel Silverstein, in which he says, "There are no happy endings. Endings are the saddest part. So just give me a happy middle and a very happy start." In this spirit, let us remember not just how the beautiful souls who departed from us, how they departed, but more importantly, how they lived. Let us celebrate their very happy starts and joyful middles that each of you gave to them. The lives they touched, the memories they created, and the love they shared with each of you. May they live through each of you. May you carry their love with you always. During this same time when Leah's family was lost in this horrific crash, I lost my 80-year-old uncle. Amid her own unimaginable grief, Leah still took the moment to offer me her condolences. I hugged her tightly and said, "Leah, how kind of you to think of me, especially after the tragic loss you've endured. My loss doesn't compare to your loss." She looked at me and gently said, "Lieutenant Governor Miller, a loss is a loss." Her grace in that moment reminded me that grief knows no hierarchy. Every life lost leaves an ache, a family changed forever. And yet, even through profound sorrow, there is space for compassion, for shared humanity, and for hope. So thank you for being here tonight to share your stories, your memories, your photographs, and your love. Thank you for honoring those we have lost by standing together, by remembering their lives, and by committing to a safer, more compassionate future. May the light of their love shine brightly through you this holiday season. May we find strength in one another, and may hope guide us always. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Assistant Secretary Bridge and Lieutenant Governor Miller for our inspiring words that they shared with us tonight. I think one of the things that's always so powerful anytime I meet someone who has unfortunately suffered this kind of tragic event is the spirit that you still show. And that's by sharing photos and stories. And that has become a tradition at Maryland Remembers, that we always hear from a victim speaker. And what I am constantly inspired by is the fact that that story, that tragedy, doesn't just become an end, but it is used for positive and to make things better and to end fatalities from happening and other families from experiencing it. And I think this next guest is a perfect example of that kind of dedication. I would like to welcome Nigel Samaro to the stand, and he's going to share his personal experience of being involved in multiple bike crashes, not just one, but multiple. The profound impact the loss of a close friend had on him, and how he continues to push forward and do good in the area of highway safety. Nigel.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be asked to speak to you this evening about my experience with road violence and how it led me to become an advocate. In 2017, I was out for a short 20-mile bike ride from home before beginning my workday, when on my return home, a driver in a van decided to turn left to get on the on-ramp to 29 northbound in Columbia, Maryland. His actions resulted in his T-boning me, and I ended up on the roadway with a broken neck and immediate paralysis of my right side. I learned from the police report that he saw me coming and decided to try and beat me and make that left turn. My life changed forever in an instant that day. I was then asked to be the face of the victim of a piece of legislation that bicycling advocates were trying to get through the legislature, known as the Vulnerable Road User Bill. I, along with fellow advocates and other supporters, testified each year from 2018 to 2021 when it was ultimately passed into law. My second experience with road violence while cycling occurred in 2020, when myself and a group of friends, 7 all total, were returning to Marley Station Mall from Sandy Point State Park. When I looked up, saw a driver in a Yukon cross the center line, headed right for us. I watched as the driver hit us, and then I was on the ground. Once I realized I was not dead or hurt, I got up and looked around at the scene of utter devastation. My dear friend, Arthur Carter Jr., lay dead. My other friend, I was afraid, was dead. He survived his critical injuries. My wife was on the ground, injured, while the rest of my friends were unhurt physically. And I cannot begin to describe the horror, as I was unable to do anything but watch it unfold. That was the second life-changing event and the second time in less than 3 years that I was almost killed while riding my bike. That resulted in my decision to no longer ride on the open roads. A devastating loss, as I've been a serious road cyclist since 2007, riding approximately 3,000 miles a year. Road violence doesn't only affect the victim. I describe it as a ripple effect. Like when you throw a pebble into a pond and you see the ripples in the water, those closest to the center are the most affected. And as the ripples spread out, the effect lessens on those further removed from the victim at the center of those ripples. But what I have done is try to turn these horrible experiences into something positive. And I remain committed to working as an advocate to improve safety of vulnerable road users on our Maryland roadways. I never, ever envisioned myself as an advocate. My lifelong career has been involved in working in cancer. So advocacy was a whole new world, testifying in Annapolis, dealing with Maryland legislators, other world. It was a whole new world. This was a whole new job, and I was the rookie. During this time, though, I made wonderful friends. Many are in the audience this evening who have shared my experiences and helped me learn this new role. I became a board member of Bike Maryland. I was appointed to the Maryland Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I've worked on the Maryland Bike and Pedestrian Master Plan, and I participate in the emphasis area teams at MDOT and co-lead, along with John Corin of Bicycle Advocates of Annapolis and Anne Arundel County, the legislative aspect of the Pedestrian and Bicycle Emphasis Area Team, otherwise known as PBEAT, of MDOT. And I chair the legislative subcommittee of the Maryland Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. In addition, I'm the chair of advocacy for the Baltimore Bicycling Club. The safety of our roadways requires a multidisciplinary approach, one that involves all of you here in the audience and on the stage. Law enforcement, the legislature, MDOT SHA, advocates, attorneys, and many others. It can't be accomplished by any one group. We all need to work together if we're going to decrease the crashes that injure and take the lives of Marylanders each and every day. If you think about it, we are all vulnerable road users. We drive, but we also walk and or bike, be it for recreation or out of necessity. We all need to look out for each other if we're to decrease the crashes on our roadways. We all have our biases and beliefs about how things should be done to accomplish the goal of safer roadways. So I ask that we all keep an open mind. I live with lifelong 24/7 health effects from the permanent damage to my spinal cord. I wouldn't be standing here were it not for the support of my wife, Kathleen, my immediate family and friends, and my healthcare providers. They help pick me up when I'm down and motivate me to keep moving, putting one foot in front of the other. And I'm sure I share this with many of you here in the audience. In closing, my dear friend, Arthur Carter Jr., is always with me on this journey. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me this honor. And remember, together, we can make a difference in making our roads safer for all Marylanders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nigel. I know it is never easy to share your story. It doesn't matter how many times you've done it, because I know I have heard you share it many times, but it does have an impact. And that's why we're here tonight, really, to have that impact and make that change. So thank you so much for being here. And if that impacts even one driver and their action on the roadways, it makes a difference. Nigel talked about that partnership, and it is certainly important. Highway safety is an area that we always say we cannot do alone. It requires all of us, not just in this room, but everywhere throughout the state of Maryland, working together to save lives on our roadways. The partnership in particular between state and local law enforcement is vital to highway safety and preventing the unspeakable that we've heard about tonight from happening. Colonel Butler has a long career in law enforcement spanning nearly 3 decades. During his career, Colonel Butler served in both line and supervisory positions as he was promoted through the ranks, including serving as Chief of Field Operations Bureau, where he worked on many highway safety issues with the Highway Safety Office. Last year, Governor Moore appointed Colonel Butler as the Superintendent of Maryland State Police. We are deeply grateful for his partnership and support. Please help me welcome him.
Good evening. Thank you, Chrissy, and thank you to each and every one of you for being here tonight. As the Superintendent of the Maryland State Police, I stand here on behalf of the entire department in support of you and your loved ones. Know that we mourn with you, not just as law enforcement officers, but as members of your community throughout the state. Your presence tonight is a testament to your courage and your strength. Please accept our deepest condolences for the loss that each of you carry with you every single day. Each name we read today represents a life of someone with hopes and dreams, someone who was loved, someone with a future. The countless lives that have been shattered, including those in this room, are truly difficult to comprehend. It is difficult because each life taken by an impaired driver is and was an avoidable tragedy. As law enforcement, Maryland Remembers holds a special place in our hearts. At the same time, it's a constant reminder we must focus our resources on combating these tragedies. We know impaired driving is preventable. Drunk and drug driving is not a random accident. Rather, it's a decision someone made, leaving the survivors with immense pain and suffering. No words can fully express the pain or fill the void left behind by the loss of someone you've loved and was taken far too soon. To the families and friends of the victims we honored this evening, your lives were forever altered. You're an inspiration to all of us that work to make our roadways safer and protect everyone that travels through our great state. Our mission is to do everything we can to remove these dangerous drivers from our roadways. From increased patrols in areas where we know there are a higher number of alcohol-related crashes, to the deployment of the Spider DUI team, our primary goal is always to improve highway safety and protect the lives of Marylanders. Thanks to funding from our partners at the Maryland Highway Safety Office, we deployed the state and police impaired reduction effort, or Spider DUI team, every weekend in an effort to proactively deter dangerous driving behaviors. This elite group of troopers, specially trained to locate and identify impaired drivers, has made almost 5,000 DUI arrests since their inception in 2013. Clearly, their work is essential to protecting the lives of our motorists. We know that enforcement is only part of the solution. Preventing impaired driving also involves educating the public. Whether it's designating someone to be a sober driver to get everybody home safely, or pitching in to hire a rideshare service, there are far too many options available to prevent alcohol and drug-related crashes. I encourage you to share that message as often as you can. This is incredibly important, especially during the holiday seasons when there are a lot of celebrations to attend with friends, family, and loved ones. The Maryland State Police is not immune to these tragedies. May 9th of this year marked the 20th anniversary of a tragic crash that claimed the life of one of our own, Trooper First Class Anthony Jones. I'll never forget that day. I was a duty officer at the College Park Barrack and responded to the scene. Trooper First Class Jones had stopped to assist a fellow trooper at a single vehicle crash on the shoulder of US Route 50 in Bowie. A tire from the crash rolled into the roadway, becoming a safety hazard. While removing that tire from the roadway, Trooper First Class Jones was struck and killed by a drunk driver. Every time someone chooses to drive under the influence, they put countless lives at risk. We all know, and we know all too well, the potential fatal consequences of impaired driving. While we work with our law enforcement partners, know that the Maryland State Police will not let up on the fight to end drunk and drug driving. We remain committed to removing these dangerous drivers from our roadways. We're committed to you and honoring all of those that you've lost. We're committed to moving forward with hope and courage that we can create a safer Maryland for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Colonel Butler, as well as all of our law enforcement officers. Unfortunately, stories like that happen way too often, where we have our law enforcement officers out there protecting us and unfortunately wind up being victims themselves of these needless tragedies. It's now time in the program to honor someone who has worked and spent their life trying to improve highway safety. It's a tradition at this event, and it's about that hope of how do we reach that goal of 0 fatalities. It's through each and every one of you who work together to move that needle forward and continue us on our positive journey. Mr. Kevin Quinlan, whom the award is named for, did just that, spending 38 years in traffic safety working to protect others. He made a lasting impression on those around him and was an advocate for seatbelt use as well as impaired driving prevention. The recipient of the Kevin Quinlan Award this year has been working to make Maryland's roads safer for more than 25 years. She's been a leader in the cannabis impaired driver detection training for workforce and law enforcement officers across the state, helping to foster positive relationships between law enforcement and the cannabis community while educating individuals about the dangers of driving impaired. She served on the Driver Behavior Subcommittee of Governor Wes Moore's Work Zone Work Group and helped lead the charge on the new Work Zone Safety Pledge. Additionally, she's worked to bring mock crashes to numerous high schools across the state, a feat that requires coordinating between multiple stakeholders and very early mornings. Just as Kevin Quinlan worked tirelessly to reduce the number of lives lost in preventable crashes, her dedication to teaching others truly embodies what it means to be a leader in highway safety. It is now my honor to award Debbie Kirkpatrick Jennings from the Chesapeake Regional Safety Council with the Kevin Quinlan Award. Congratulations.
I want to recognize the Chesapeake Region Safety Council's leadership and their commitment to our mission of saving lives and preventing injuries, along with their visible support for the teen, impaired, and workplace-related highway safety programs that I've been involved in. Many of the partners that I have worked with are here tonight, and we all care very much about safer roadways. Tonight is a night of remembrance, honoring individuals whose lives were lost on our roadways, such as Janet Hardy, a vibrant 13-year-old who should have had more time on a soccer field instead of a yearly scholarship game in her memory. and Tyler Elsie, a volunteer firefighter on Kent Island, who was just beginning to plan out his public safety career. Many more victims may not be as well known, but have motivated me. Such as Ann Fordham Smith, a beautiful young mom taken in a distracted driver crash in 2006 on her way to work, and John and Jane Lindsay, who died in Prince Frederick in an impaired drunk driver crash on their way home from Christmas shopping with their 13-year-old daughter. Their crashes affected many. It's just that their lives were also taken from quieter families. They too are not forgotten. I was fortunate enough to attend the first Maryland Remembers event more than 20 years ago, honoring the lives taken by those that were driving impaired on our roadways. I am thankful, very thankful, for everyone's efforts since then, and I'm asking all of you to remain steadfast in your commitment to stopping these tragedies. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Debbie. I know your work has truly made a difference, and just the stories that you shared shows the passion that you have for what we do every day, and we are entirely grateful for you and for your efforts, which do make a difference. So thank you. Before we go, I want to extend another thank you to our law enforcement partners for being on that front line. Again, we know that you put your lives at risk in dangerous circumstances all hours of the day and night. We know impaired driving especially can be dangerous, as we've heard through the stories this evening. Last month, we recognized 78 officers for their commitment to removing impaired drivers from the street. Some of them are here today. Among those officers, 5 made over 100 DUI arrests last year. Over 100. While I certainly wish the impaired drivers were not out there, how grateful should we all be that those officers were there to keep each and every one of us and our families safe. Thank you so much. And lastly, I just want to say that bringing together the community, I feel like we're a family. Many of you know each other. Families support each other throughout the years. While there is sadness, there is also great hope. We're glad to see the numbers moving in the right direction, but frankly, we will not be satisfied until that number is 0. We don't want to bring any new members to this family. We want to be able to let everybody go home safely. And please know that we share your stories. We carry them in our heart all year long. It is not just about today. It is about changing behavior every day, every time somebody gets behind the vehicle, to think about the impact they can have on somebody's life. So thank you so much, all of you, for being here. You make this the special event that it is every year. Thank you so much.